Good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning. It's LaShonda Henry here, aka Sister Sense, and once again, I welcome you inside our Sister Sense Sunday Circle. This is our opportunity as a community to reflect on this week as you prepare for the new one. We have a lot to talk about today, so let's jump in. As always, I'm going to go over to our doc, our Sunday Circle document, number one. And then number two, let's take a look at the things that I always like for us to do inside the Sunday Circle. For me, it's all about the TP3, identifying your top priority three tasks for the coming week. I always like to say, always have something to say, right? Always have something to something to say, something to share, and something to sell. In order to do that well, I've broken this particular methodology down into three parts. The things that you sell being making irresistible offers, being able to say valuable things, messages that make you money, number two. And for me, number three, they always say that content is king, right? So being able to create at least one piece of content sharing value on a week-by-week basis, this is essentially the heart, the foundation, the structure, all the good goods that encompasses what I have created for you inside the TP3, okay? So when it comes to working on your top priority three tasks, something to say, something to sell, something to share, that's essentially where we start our conversation today and pretty much every Sunday Circle. Now, when we are working on transitioning from one quarter to the next, right, whether it be a new month or a new quarter, I like to have the TP3 conversation with you. So that's basically what I'm going to do this morning. Number one, I want to start off with a friendly reminder. Several years ago, I wrote, and every single year I talk about one of my favorite ebook creations called This Is Still Your Year. And inside of it, I have 5 challenges, aka micro projects, that you can think about and work on when you are intentionally trying to work towards your growth. Right? Because life is always going to life. Stuff is always going to happen. And for me, I figured out that the best way to not stay distracted and the best way to kind of keep myself moving forward, right, even when things are trying to throw me off, is to have little micro challenges that help me move forward. So I want to remind you, friendly reminder, that this is still your year, number one. And number two, encourage you to think about a friendly reminder that you either want to dig into for yourself or share with your tribe, right? It's just so important for us to really have these messages that we can tell ourselves, because we talk to ourselves more than anybody else, right? You talk to you more than anybody else you're ever going to talk to in this whole entire world, all your lifetime, all the things, right? So you want to be mindful of all the things that subconsciously could come and bombard you, especially those negative things, how you can counteract that with as much of your energy, your voice, your positivity as possible, right? So being clear about those things that you can just kind of like a light switch, you can pop into your mind and say to yourself to turn on the light, right, to adjust and stay motivated as needed, for me, is key. One of the things that I always love to talk about at the end of the year as well is finish strong and start stronger, right? And so understanding that this is still your year, regardless of what has happened, you still have the opportunity to put things in your favor, right? To arrange things and make adjustments in the way that is going to work for you. These are things that I encourage you to think about, myself included, right? I don't tell you anything that I don't internally tell myself as often as I can to stay focused and moving forward. Now, on the topic of friendly reminders and focus words, there are several D's that I shared yesterday. Right now, I don't know if you know this, but I'm doing my 31 days of Vlogmas, mainly to motivate myself to create some micro content. I shouldn't say micro content, but short form videos on the YouTube platform. But I've been posting my Vlogmas series on YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, and Facebook. And of all the goals I could possibly tell you, or of all the motivational factors I could possibly tell you for me, the biggest thing has been to just have something I can commit myself to. Getting better at creating video content in this particular style on a day-by-day basis. Not just recording it, but getting better at editing it and creating a routine, a new routine that I believe is going to be integral in my online visibility and growth moving forward. So you've got to think about for yourself a couple of things that you can do. And yesterday, as part of Vlogmas, what I decided to do was share some Ds. And I want to drop them on you today to consider, okay? The first one is determine. Determine. I love this for two reasons. Number one, I've been an entrepreneur for 20 plus years now, and if I am nothing else, it is determined. I'm always determined to figure out how I'm going to accomplish my goals and how I'm going to work on creating that next season for myself. And whatever season you are in right now, whether it's good or bad, I want you to be determined to stay the course and get to that next place wherever you want that to be, okay? Because the reality is that whether it's working or not, no one else is going to get you to that point but you. If you and when I say that with love, because I think about this particular quote all the time. The only way to fail is to quit. There's really no other way for you to fail at this. So understand the power of determination and how that's going to propel you forward. Now, when I think about the word determine, for me, I want you to determine what your objective is going to be going into the new year, right? Get clear about what it is that you're trying to accomplish, number one. Number two for me is deliver. There are certain things that I want to deliver to myself, and there are certain things that I want to deliver to my tribe. And making sure that I am intentionally delivering those things, whether it be to groups or individuals or to me, before we end this year, 2023, that's a huge part of my agenda. So understanding the importance of being true to yourself and also being a person, woman or man, of your word, and the things that you said you were going to do, you do, right? I believe at the end of the day, people don't judge you based on what you say you're going to do, but what you actually do. And so being a person of your word, it's so important for you to understand and identify those things that you know you need to deliver and when, right? At what time. And not giving up on you. Not giving up on those things that you want to do. Also thinking about how often you push back the things that you want to do. Like some of you set dates and deadlines, right? But then you go, yeah, I'm going to push it back a week. I'm going to push it back 2 weeks. I'm going to push it back a month. No. Yeah. You got to figure out what's going on there. Because you have to get to a point where you're clear about what you can realistically do, how much you're able to manage, right? You know, everybody's talking about your bandwidth, and what your personal bandwidth is. So you're not always setting yourself up for non-success. You're not always setting yourself up for beating yourself up for not being able to accomplish things if you're setting goals that make sense and are manageable for you. So where do you need to show up as far as delivery? Number two. Number three, declutter. Declutter. This is also something that I've been talking about quite a bit over the last several weeks. At the end of the day, in order for you to create a space for the new things that you want to create and or manifest in your life, you got to get rid of some old things that no longer serve you. And then, of course, for me, it's the Eisenhower matrix, right? So I'm pairing these with what we talk about every single week inside of the Sunday Circle. What are the things that you know you're going to actually act on, the things you're going to do? Decide those things that you may not do now, but you will schedule and put into your calendar for the near future. Delegate, utilize the people, the resources around you who can do certain things for you, perhaps maybe better than you, if that is going to support you being able to move forward. And then delete those things that are not a priority. They're not urgent. They're not important. And honestly, they're just taking up space in your mind and in your day. They're not moving you forward the way you want to. So being able to determine, deliver, declutter, do, decide, delegate, and delete, these are some powerful D words that I wanted to share with you this December, moving into the new year, January. Which brings me to projects, right? There's something that it's a book, right? And it's been around for a while. This year in particular, I feel compelled to kick off our new year with the 12-week year, and creating a space where, especially those of you who feel like maybe sometimes you drag your feet, or you start things but you don't finish them the way you would like to, as opposed to us looking at, oh, you've got 365 days to finish, ... fill in the blank. Let's work on these micro moments, not as quarters, but look at each quarter as a year, as a finite period of time where you really want to be in a space where you propel your vision forward. That's one of the things that I have identified as one of my primary projects going into the first quarter of the first year, working with my mentees, talking about the 12-month year and intentionally working on some very specific projects around that. The 12-week year. The 12-week year actually is in alignment with what I've been doing for the last 3 months as part of my Fresh Start program, right? I always say your fresh start starts now. And for 90 days, we worked on a very finite project. It was creating a $7 solution and then just consistently working on either completing that project or creating things to add on to that project, but having something specific and very clear to tether yourself to over a 90-day period. I'm probably going to do Fresh Start Cycle 2 going into quarter 2 of the new year, but we're going to kick it off with the 12-week year, and I'm excited about that. Which brings me to project concept that I always talk about when we go into the new year versus the new month versus the new quarter, right? Conversation, which is what are those projects that you're going to start brand spanking new versus those ones that you plan to roll over for whatever reason, right? Going into the new quarter, new year, new month, okay? Now, as I rattle these off, my goal is that you at some point sit down, you give yourself an hour or two to get clear with you about these things. And those of you who do have one-on-one calls with me, definitely take that opportunity to sit down with me so that we can work on these things together. Because if you don't take the time to get clear about your next best steps, you're always going to feel like you're spinning your wheels and you're walking in this blur, right? And by the way, those of you who are looking to schedule calls with me, definitely feel free to go over to citizensense.com/HGG, which stands for Holiday Good Goods, so that you can grab 3 or 10 clarity calls with me that you can intentionally use over the course of the next several months. They don't expire, but if you do intentionally want some additional support as you are going through the things that you're trying to accomplish going into the new year, I'm here for you, okay? So outside of thinking about your 12-week year, because like I said, we're definitely going to dig into that here inside of the Citizen Circle community, those projects that you either want to start or roll over, which brings me to the schedule, right? I remember one week inside of our Citizen Circle, one of the ladies said, okay, I've been off my game for a while. I'm so overwhelmed, I don't know where to start, right? And so I talked about the next couple of lines that you see here. Number one is you start off with my SDF methodology, which is simply just brain dumping. Do not self-censor. Do not pause for the cause, where you're literally sitting there and it looks like there's pain on your face because you're resisting to write anything down because you're overthinking it. Just write those things that you need to start, continue, and finish. Just brain dump it out. Get it all out. What do you need to start? What do you need to continue? What do you need to finish? That's SCF. CUD, what do you need to create? What do you need to update? What do you need to designate more time to focus on? That's CUD. You just put it out there, and then you start to work on order of priority. Order of priority for me starts with things that have a very clear deadline. You go through what may seem to you like a bunch of mess, like a bunch of gobbledygook words, stuff is all over the place, and you start to organize those things into priority lists, right? The things that need to get done because there's a deadline for it. The things that are almost done. You're like, I might as well knock this out because it's practically finished, right? Those things that are your passion projects, you can add those to the list. And then also think about the ordered projects. When I say ordered, I mean that there's a natural order to it, whether you know it or not. But if you sit down and you stop feeling frustrated and frantic and you really thought about it, like, for example, you get dressed. I'm sure you do it in a certain sequence. There's a certain order to how you get dressed. I'm sure you don't put your underwear on over your pants, right? You don't put the bra on over the shirt, right? You don't put the jacket on and then you put on like your shirt. You put the shirt on and then the jacket, right? So there are projects that we work on that have the same thing, where there's a natural order to it. And if you just kind of sat down, your project will tell you what needs to happen first. But a lot of times we don't really take the time to sit down, write it out, talk it out, and get clear about it. It just kind of sits in our head, and we're going day after day after day after day after day with all of these things in our head, and it's overwhelming. I know this because I've worked with thousands of entrepreneurs online. I've done tons of clarity calls, whether they worked with me directly or virtually watching me in some capacity through some platform online. I know this. I know how it works. I know where the struggle is, which is why I said, if you do want to sit down and talk to me and have what we call the clarity sessions with yours truly, we can make that happen. So understand that outside of just kind of dumping out those things that you want to do, putting it into a schedule, ordering the priority things, ordering things by priority, to me, that is a part of the process. And then, of course, getting smart. SMART repetition. SMART is one of those acronyms that I absolutely love when it comes to goal setting: specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time-bound. Getting very clear about the micro projects that you want to do, and then being able to measure and track your progress over time, right? These are, to me, the elements of success, right? So right now I'm doing Vlogmas, 31 days. I'm literally on today is day 24, right? So just a few more days before the 31 days is over. And what's the goal? The goal for me was I wanted to do these micro videos, short form videos every day for 31 days and upload them, right? And I want to say within the first day or two, I thought, okay, well, record the video, then upload the video, right? And I was putting too much pressure on myself because just getting into the swing of doing those vlog-style videos every day and then editing them in CapCut every day, I just felt like there was a lot of pressure to do both things at once. And then I adjusted it slightly, ever so slightly, where I said, okay, well, I'm going to record today's video, but I'm not going to upload today's video today. I'm going to upload it tomorrow. That changed things, where I didn't feel like I had to do one thing all at once. I could record today's video, but then edit yesterday's video. And that just, for me, I don't know how to describe it, took a little bit of pressure off because I was editing a video that was already recorded, so I didn't feel rushed. And I was recording a video that I didn't have to edit. So again, I didn't feel rushed. I was doing both tasks, but not for one thing. That made me feel like, okay, I have to record this video today, then I have to edit it, and I have to get it up before midnight, and da-da-da-da-da-da. It just kind of made it make sense to me. So getting into a place where you work on setting very specific, smart goals for yourself that you can measure and track, that is where I want you to dig into. And then last but not least, when it comes to looking at your new month, new year, new quarter conversation, the skills. At the end of the day, we have to identify our skills. Number one, because it's so important to maximize the skills that you have, but then to acknowledge where you fall short so then you can reach out and work with other people who could fill in the blanks and plug the holes, right? So think about those natural skills you want to work on, the learned skills you want to acquire, the desired skills, right? Though you're like, man, I've been really wanting to learn or get better at ... fill in the blank, right? And those habits, those things that you want to do on a week-by-week basis. Here I have weekly micro projects, and I remember one of the ladies in the circle said to me, LaShonda, can you give us a list of your projects? And I did. I created an ebook called Stay Productive, so I can make a list of all of these things that I do, I would say pretty much every year, but then you having something that you can go to and think about, oh, let me try this, let me try that. And for me, I think it's important to be able to have that be one of my micro projects, literally sharing that list of micro projects so that people are aware that it exists, which is going to bring me to your this week, next week conversation, right? Which is the heart of our conversation today. You being able to think about what you're doing this week versus what you're going to do next week. When I think about each week, what we do here in the circle is we focus on your offers, your messages, and your content. And every week I ask you one simple question. When it comes to making offers, are you in production mode or pitch mode? You're making an offer, you're pitching it to people, or you're making an offer, you're actually producing it, right? I would say that this week for me has been just kind of working on putting the finishing touches on the things that I've been producing mainly, right? So as far as end-of-year offers, calls, closeouts, classes, bundles, this is pretty much what I've been working on every single week for the last few weeks. This is not changing. This is going to be ride or die till the wheels fall off till the year is over, and then we go into the new thing, right? Those one-on-one calls with clients, the things that I'm closing out, my closeout offers, my new bundles and kits, the classes that I've been doing live, and then repurposing the replay content is pretty much what I've been doing for the remainder of the year, and I'm focused on that, right? As far as my messages are concerned, very hot and heavy, of course. My theme for this month is always finish strong, start stronger. And we've spent a lot of time on the finish strong. I'm transitioning into the start stronger. And for me to do that, I'm definitely focused on now talking about how to fire start your year, how to work on the 12-week year, and then working on your reach. This is something that, and you can think about it. Let me ask you, like, just internally nod your head if you feel like of all the things that you've worked on, whether it be by yourself, with me, or other people, your reach is something that you really want to work on going into the new year. You want to put more effort into reaching the right people to create a sustainable business for you. Okay, that is definitely something that we're going to be digging into inside of my Citizen Circle, as well as community building. And then, of course, me personally just kind of following up with those inquiries that people have asked me, LaShonda, I'm curious about this or that, and making sure that I can address their needs and support them as needed. So inquiries from individuals, but when I think about my larger tribe, my larger community, the conversations that we are going to be working on, the 12-week year, their community growth, their tribe growth and reach. Um, Again, going back to things that I do with individuals, following up, sending out personal messages, responding to voice messages, checking in with my tribe. I do these things every single week, right? So when people say, I don't understand how you're creating a sustainable business or you grow without having to do paid ads, this is the secret sauce. I'm following up with the real people who reach out to me. I'm reaching out to real people through personalized messages, telling people, hey, if you have a question, go to sistersense.com, click the gray tab on the right of the sistersense.com website and send me a voice message. People do that all the time. So creating spaces where you are having more conversations with real people. It doesn't have to be millions of people, but so long as every week there are people looking at your stuff, asking you questions, checking in with you, you're doing what you need to do as far as messaging, creating a space where messages are going back and forth, and that those conversations are helping with your conversion. And then, of course, when it comes to your content, what are you putting out? So I have been absolutely in love with the new changes that Canva has made to their Canva web pages. So I've really focused a lot of my time on producing the new templates that I'm launching for the new year, number one, as part of my Plug and Publish series, working on consistently showing up for you guys as part of my Vlogmas series. But to be honest with you, I'm going to say this one's a little bit selfish because my goal really has been to show up for y'all, but to show up for me first, right? Independent of selling anything. And I really don't sell things on Vlogmas. I'm just showing up, sharing my day-to-day, and then creating a space to be a different side of me that is me, but not me saying, okay, well, let's talk about money, let's talk about marketing, let's talk about sales. And I've committed myself to doing that for 31 days. Even when my mind tells me to wants to talk me out of doing things, it's not easy every day, but I'm still finding a way to show up, right? And then the Sunday Circle. Literally, we have one more Sunday left of the year. And as I like to say, come hell or high water, I'm going to be here. And even I tell you guys all the time, where 2 or 3 are gathered in his name, even if it's just you, me, and the Lord, I'm going to be here. And then find a way to share this message and to be consistent about doing those things that I committed myself to. One of the things that I believe entrepreneurs struggle with is giving up on you. Giving up on you. Because in order for you to get to wherever it is that you want to be, when we look at people publicly and we go, oh my gosh, they've quote unquote arrived, we're there at that end point, or not even the end, because when they arrive, that's like at a heightened point. We're at a heightened point in their life, in their business, in their whatever. But you weren't there for all of those other moments that they had to struggle through. So getting better at sticking to the things that you want to do and showing up for you, that for me is really a part of the equation. So working on the classes that I'm doing, especially my content creation classes, and creating video content, period. Like, that's just the heart of what I do, and that's what I've been digging into for the last couple of weeks. I do it every month, but definitely these last couple of weeks digging into as much video content as I can produce. That has been the meat and potatoes for me when it comes to my TP3. Hopefully that can help you formulate what you are planning to do when it comes to thinking about this week versus next week. What have you done, right, versus what you want to do? And to be honest with you, a good percentage of this week has been slow down, right? Giving my tribe the space to kind of do the things that they need to do for the holiday season, but myself included, right, to slow down, reflect, make adjustments, figure out what I need to finalize and how I'm going to move forward, right? So These are some of the things that we are doing that I have done. Think about your current week versus the next one, and the things that you're trying to accomplish going into the new year. Of course, definitely check in with me if you have any questions about how the Citizen Circle can support you, whether it be coming out with us and North Carolina for our Fire Start Your Year workshop that's happening in January. If you're curious about that, you can check in with me, number one. If you'd like to get a set of 3 or even 10 clarity calls, that's something else that you can do, number 2. And then, of course, number 3, our week-by-week, month-by-month, excuse me, excuse me, our week-by-week, month-by-month Citizen Circle community. These are some things that I put together to support you intentionally when it comes to working on your business every single year. So let's go over to the last 3 parts of our conversation for today. I know today's a very, very busy day, so I want to make sure that I can, in a succinct way, motivate, encourage, show up, but then send you on your way to do those other things that I'm sure you've got to do. When it comes to our Citizen Circle every Sunday, I encourage you to position yourself for profit. If you are going to work on anything, the 3 R's for me: your revenue, your reach, and your routines. When it comes to revenue, what do you plan to sell? And what are your sales goals for this final week, OMG, of the year? Oops, my apologies. I accidentally hit pause, and then thank you so much. Thank you so much for letting me know you couldn't hear me. Thank God I didn't go too far into the conversation. As I mentioned before, number one, you want to, I'm just backtracking here. The last few things I said was you want to work on positioning yourself for profit, right? And you cannot do that without really assessing your revenue, your reach, and your routines, aka the R factor, right? So what do you want to sell? Who do you want to reach? How are you going to reach them? Routines. What are you going to do on a day-by-day, week-by-week basis? What are the deadlines? What are the tasks that you set for yourself this week? These are simple but powerful questions that if you ask yourself these questions on a week-by-week basis, you intentionally are clear about what you plan to do moving forward, okay? Number one. And thank you for letting me know that you couldn't hear me because I accidentally hit the mute button real quick. And then, of course, as I mentioned before, I always love to pair my TP3 methodology with the Eisenhower matrix, right? You being able to assess your top priority tasks by identifying all the things you want to do, aka the brain dump, number one. And then number two, in the matrix, compartmentalizing the things you want to do now that are urgent and important, the things you will decide to schedule that are not urgent but still very important, the things you plan to delegate to those who can do it for you, because while they are urgent, they're not important in the sense that you directly have to do them. They just need to get done by someone, perhaps someone who can do it faster or maybe even better than you, because that's their area of expertise, right? Identifying your skills, as we discussed before, is something that you really have to get better at, so that you know when to delegate those things that other people can do better for you, right? And then last, excuse me, I've got the sneezies. Last but not least, outside of delegate, delete, right? Those things that are not urgent or important. And if you don't really want to delete them, at the very least, put them on a list of future projects that you can do at a later date in time when you have more time to do those things. Okay? So, as always, it's time to take action. It's time to take action. Hopefully, this micro session today has given you a bit of clarity when it comes to reflecting on your TP3 plan, when it comes to looking at your new week, your new month, your new quarter, your new year. I want you to, from here, tackle the resistance. This is something that we talk about every session, and perhaps I talked about it on some level, but identifying those things that either you struggle with or internal or external, but a lot of times internal when it comes to challenges, misconceptions, or fears that are holding you back and blocking you from the things that you need to do forward, right? I always say unblock your blessings for you and for your business, right? So where are you feeling some resistance? Number one, that you need to tackle and address, because not just the technical things, but the difficult things are going to affect your ability to move forward. Get your ASK, get your ask in gear, get clear about what you need to ask and who you need to ask those things of to get the support that you need. Maintain your momentum. So this is an opportunity for us to sit down and think about intentionally those things that need to happen to move forward. High energy time blocks that you set aside working with yourself, working with an accountability partner, a mentor, or coach, getting the support you need to sit down, get clear, and move forward. I do this every single week, multiple times a week, in order to maintain your momentum, right? So these are things that are important. And of course, for me, I wouldn't be me without the crazy good calendars, right? Being able to sit down and assess those things that you want to happen, whether you use calendar apps, you use planners, notebooks, you accountability partners, you set calendars with your clients, making sure that you're clear about what needs to happen next. And of course, my final statement to you, one of my favorite phrases, a Sunday well spent brings a week full of content. Identifying those things that you want to do this Sunday, possibly every Sunday, at least 60 minutes to 3-hour time blocks to find a way to intentionally move forward. So, number one, thank you so much for joining me. Number two, I cannot believe I am 1 week away from being able to say that every single Sunday at 6 a.m. EST, this was the place to be with me as part of the Success Circles community, committing yourself to something that you're going to do either on a day-by-day, week-by-week, or month-by-month basis that matters to you. I encourage you to do that really and truly. And then, of course, ultimately, I want to say to you, thank you so much. Thank you so much for being a part of my circle, my community. Happy holidays, many blessings, more to come. Mwah. Bye.